Mark here to tell
We're
us.
live.
We're live. Good evening and welcome to the Town Harwich Finance Committee meeting. It is Thursday, October 13th,
You wanted to
2020. I will point out, I'll call the meeting to order. We are live streaming this meeting, and that also means it's recorded. If anybody here in attendance is planning to record this, please let the chair know. Otherwise, we will proceed. So the first thing on the agenda is approval of previous minutes. So I will bring up first, to get things cleaned up in order here, the minutes of Thursday, September 8th, 2022. They've been distributed to you. Does someone have a motion to accept those minutes?
I move to accept the minutes.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second?
Okay, moved and seconded to accept the minutes of Thursday, September 8th. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, we'll put it to a vote. We'll do a roll call as we do now. So Mark,
Aye.
Angelo,
Aye.
Karen,
Aye.
Dana, Peter, aye. Okay, thank you very much. Now we have the minutes of September 15th, our last meeting. Could I have a motion to accept those,
I
please?
move to accept the minutes.
Okay, it's been moved
Second?
and seconded to accept the minutes. Any discussion?
I'll just amend it to include Dan Pelletier and the people present via video.
Right,
I'll take
okay.
care of that.
Thank you. Yeah, he was here for the first two articles, so, yeah. All right, any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll put it to a vote. Mark?
Aye.
Angelo?
Aye.
Karen? Dana?
Aye.
Peter? Aye. Okay, thank you. We're cleaned up on minutes now, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
we have no backlog.
Okay, on the new business, to welcome new members, I had a lengthy discussion with the town moderator last week. We were both anticipating that by today, he would have had his two appointments, or down two. He hasn't closed that loop yet. We're hopeful he's gonna do that at the end of the special town meeting next Tuesday, so I'm not gonna divulge who it is he's contemplating and working with. But anyhow, we should have two new members next week. Of all the candidates he's looking at, from what I can tell, they're all qualified. Would be a good fit with the committee, so we will look forward to seeing them soon. Okay? Anything else on that one? All right, tonight we invited Rich Larios, the chairman of the Capital Outlay Committee, is here with us to present and discuss the status of the Capital Outlay Committee. We're not here tonight to decide items in the Capital Outlay Committee. We just wanted to get a heads up as to what's coming to us, you know, as we move towards the budget season, if you will. So, Rich, you want to come up?
He's running away. That's
He's
good.
running away. He's leaving. Oh, yeah. That's a rowdy crew next door, you know.
Rich, you can come here if you want to get near them. Oh, all right, cool.
Go at the table.
And everybody, I did distribute the information. Hopefully, everybody printed it out and has it, or if not, oh, you printed out in long form. Look at
No,
that.
that was from our, the actual capital
Okay.
outlay Joe brought.
Okay, all right.
It's the same version.
Good evening.
Good evening, thank you for having me. And it's been a while since I've been at FinCom. I was on FinCom for 10 years. 1 year picking up Angelo's. You want to take a mic?
Don't trip on them.
You talk and just don't say anything important.
Nothing I say. I want to thank you for the invite. Let me tell you, the Capital Outlay Committee today has two vacancies, much like you have your two vacancies, which makes it a little bit difficult at times to take votes and so forth. We are also working with the town moderator and everyone else to get two more people. Fortunately, we have Karen and Mark
Yep.
from your committee, and we have, we should have two from the town administrator, two from the selectmen, and one from planning. We have 5 today, and of the 5, 4 are brand new, except me. Again, I said I had 10 years here. I picked up 1 year when Angelo became a Board of Selectmen, and then I did my 3-3-3, my 3 terms of 3 years. I've been on this for 11 or 12 years when it happened that I was put
Pretty
on
soon
it.
you're gonna get it right.
I hope so. I mean, it's getting to a point where it's become rote. According to the capital outlay planning and the town charter, the town administrator develops and revises the capital plan in consultation with the capital outlay committee. So therefore, the committee advises the town administrator of the plan. And in December, that plan, which is reviewed by hopefully 7 members, 5 right now, is presented to the FinCom and to the Board of Selectmen. The plan is a 5-year plan, not a 7-year plan. And it covers those requests for 50,000 or greater, okay, over the plan years. What I was able to give you was the initial request for, we had over 85 requests from the town department heads. Those requests are literally on that spreadsheet, okay? And as Karen knows, we've only gotten one department head in, and that was facilities management, Sean Libby, to go over some, I don't know, 10 or 12 facility maintenance kind of
I
projects.
understand.
The next one, I think, will be fire and police. We will double up now, the shorter version, the shorter requests. The next biggie would be the water department, and
Angela, you may want to move down or let Dan in.
Thank you.
So you're working your way down the list.
yeah, we have not gotten to the second request
Right.
yet, okay? We got to the biggest. That facilities maintenance sort of encompassing topic is fairly new to the town because of Sean. So that was probably instituted 3 to 5 years ago, about that. Rather than the individual department handling it, it's put into facilities management, like anything to do with police department building, this building, anything like that would fit into there. So we're looking with wastewater almost $75 million. And if you cut that all down, we're really looking at requests between 2 and 3 million, not the wastewater kind of stuff, which has to be, I'm going to call, interpreted so that we understand it, the taxpayers understand it, and the committees understand it. So I'm going to open it up for you. I had the town administrator's clerk send out what we've been working on or what we are anticipating to be working on. And this should not grow, maybe only by 1 or 2, where something had been handled by a department head and now it's going to be listed on this. You two gentlemen have worked with this kind of stuff, so
And,
I'm going to throw it out to you.
okay, so I'll start and I'll ask a few things, and I'm sure it's gonna lead to other things, whatever. But a couple items. One is, we have been a little chagrined over what has or hasn't happened at Sisson Road, Cultural Center, the old middle school, whatever we wanna call it, okay? And it's not your issue, but we left town meeting last year thinking that the selectmen, the finance committee are gonna work like this, and the town administrator on a plan, for what is that, the use of that building, and, what is the business plan for that, et cetera, et cetera. We have virtually been shut out of that process at the moment. So when you have items in there from Sean, some capital items in there to do some things to the building. Have you had a chance to learn what it is he intends to do over what time frame of the building? And can you share with us what that might be?
It's physical to the building, so it's not a business plan.
No, I understand that.
I think you
I
may.
understand that, but if
that-
we're
the
talking about
interpret-
spending a few $1 million, are we replacing the air conditioning system? Are we,
Looking at boilers, we're looking at the septic, we're looking at the gutters, we're looking at outside, we're looking at inside. So it's a number of things. Let me just see. 204 Sisson,
2.5 million.
yeah, 2.5. Basically, boilers, the first year, that 1.5 is boilers and fire alarm system.
So
The
it's basically-
boilers are shot.
yeah, I understand that, but it's basically building support systems, right? Or
Yeah.
utilities, or whatever you want to call it, basic things that need to be in the building, no matter what it's used for. Is that right? I mean,
According to what Sean has looked at it.
yeah, so you haven't seen anything specific to like, and I'm only making this up.
Yeah,
We need to do something specifically to make a room for potters or something like, whatever that means.
your
You know,
interpretation
specific
is
to-
what I'm interpreting as a business plan for 204 Sisson.
Yeah.
And there is none,
No, I understand that.
okay? And in my knowledge, there isn't going to be one by the Capital Outlay Committee.
Right, you're just getting requests to do something that Sean knows needs to be done maintenance-wise to the building.
This is facilities maintenance only.
Yep.
I think what is going to be done with 204 Sisson Road sort of falls into the category of every building that we have is a municipal building, and it's used for single or multiple purposes. The definition of 204 Sisson Road is up in the air. What's it going to be when it grows up, if it grows up?
Yeah,
So
Yeah.
I can't answer that question, Peter.
yeah, I don't expect
And
you
I
to.
think that's something that perhaps Chairman of the FinCom, the Board of Selectmen, and the Town Administrator have to sit down. I don't think it's at the committee level.
Yeah,
No one's been charged to come up with what's the plan for Sisson Road.
wait a second.
I mean, I know what Karen, go ahead. Go ahead.
All right, Karen,
Yeah, so we brought it up with Joe in the meeting, and like I did anyway, and I said, Rich is 100% correct in terms of what we focused on with Sean, and
yep,
it's pretty small compared to what I think is coming if we think about the full projected business plan for the building. But we don't know that yet. I know that the new Director of Cultural Services is working on that, on a plan of some sort. She's doing that from a cultural center standpoint. So I said to Joe that it's critical that we understand the full context, to your point about what is that plan, so that we can see what the rest of the costs might be.
sure.
But I don't feel like I could vote on this line item, facilities maintenance, as representative of the full scope of what's going on over there. Like, I think it would be misleading to say that this, whatever Sean has quoted is
Yeah.
really fully encompassing, that's all.
No, I
And so we
understand.
discussed that, and Joe heard it, he gets it,
Okay,
but there's no commitment to give us anything more at this point.
all right, okay.
I think,
I understand all
I
that.
think it's an open question
Yep, no, I understand.
about term. What's the view? How much is the Board of Selectmen looking at the future? And my retort has been, should you be looking at every other building in the same way and present a business plan on every building, like the one we're in today? So, or like the community center? I don't know, it's not my job. I mean, it's beyond my pay grade. But I think there's been a lot of interpretation of, should 204 Sisson Road be considered for something else or more? And I think it's possible. I
No, I understand.
can't answer that.
No, I understand, I appreciate that. So let me ask a different question.
Surely,
When you get done with the capital plan,
yes.
which nicely lists, every year we want to do this, and it's this much money. who's developing the spending plan that goes with it? I.e., if I have, I'm making this up, $47 million committed to wastewater in a year, you're not gonna spend that in 1 year, right? It's gonna be borrowed over time because you can't do all the work all, at once, and it spreads over time. Is that going to be our new finance director? Is that your understanding?
Yes,
Okay,
and she is new, so,
no, I understand. I'm
yeah, I
just
mean,
trying to-
the idea is, what is the funding, number one? How is it gonna be funded? And then what is the recommendation for the funding?
And more importantly, I think for all of us should be, what's the impact on the tax rate and the taxpayers for each of these years we're talking about doing all this stuff. I mean, it's hard for me to understand how we go from 40 years in wastewater down to 20, and there isn't some giant bill that's coming to be due. I mean, it's just, you can't squeeze.
Well, the only way that works is if the amount was cut in half.
Yeah, right, there you
So-
go. That worked.
Okay, I mean,
You
that
see what I
works.
mean? I'm just trying to prepare the way, and we're doing it with the finance. She was in here a couple weeks ago, and we gave her a nice list of reports that we want before we get into the budget season. And capital wasn't, one of them. We did talk about debt service and that type of thing. But we want to make sure we get into the budget season with full information the best we can. Let's put it that way.
I think one of the discussions we used to have is how does it impact the tax holder? And how do you inform the tax holder? As a tax holder and being, aware of what you guys do, what the Capital Outlay Committee does, if I was a resident, I'm really confused. I don't think we've done enough.
Yeah, I understand.
Okay, we used to have those meetings at the community center where you'd bring the people in and you'd show them, okay, this was at the initial, when we took our first bite at the apple of what does wastewater look like, how are you going to connect, who are you going to connect with. I'd hate to see this, any effort we do look like Yarmouth Board about their solar panels, where they recommend somebody, and then if that somebody they recommend, the town, goes bankrupt, and these people are out $50,000, $60,000, $70,000.
Right.
And that's what I interpret. My big fear is that what's the average age of somebody that's going to have to borrow to get connected to some plan, and now the plan has changed. The guy's gone out to borrow, can't connect. I mean, there's so many things. Capital Outlay is not involved in terms of, initiating the discussion, nor is FinCom.
No,
But you've got the water people that have to go out and sell the product.
right.
And I think it's very difficult. You look at, we talked about it, the average home now maybe is 400 grand or whatever, and he has to borrow against the house. That's his only source of income. I mean, there's
Oh, I
so
know
many
it.
things. So I wish we could do more, but I think that's up to the town and the Board of Selectmen and the water people.
We ran into an interesting one, and I'm not gonna prolong it, but when we were going through the articles for this, the 8 articles we have in front of us for the special town meeting, the one that is the project manager or town's owner's project manager for Brooks Academy, and the town administrator said, oh yeah, the state says if you're gonna have a project that's over $1.5 million, you have to have a project manager. Fine, that's fine. But when you rack up the numbers that have been appropriated so far, it's less than that. And so then came the, I won't say big reveal, but we had a discussion about, well, yeah, of course there's follow-on stuff, as you have in the plan. And you have to look at this as an entire project, and when you get done with the whole project, it's some number, but it does exceed the $1.5 million. So, those kind of things just pop up.
Yep.
So. Okay, questions? Dana?
In your discussions with, I know a big group of this, other than the wastewater, is the water department itself.
Yep.
Is that's all coming out of water rates? Do you know? So the
yeah.
rates obviously are increasing?
Yeah, I mean,
Water?
we have never, it's all been the water commissioners and the rates.
Okay. And the wastewater, it can't come out of rates yet because not enough people are hooked up, so that's all coming.
There's no
presumably
revenue coming in from it.
outside.
Dan
Right.
hasn't come yet to the meeting.
Right.
Yeah, but in general, the
I mean,
There's
in
no-
terms of the discussions.
There's
that
no
happen,
revenue
that's
flow,
all.
what he
Well, I'm
means.
in that meeting, that's what I'm saying, I'm in that meeting, and Dan hasn't been there yet to talk about water, wastewater.
But what I'm interpreting that Dana's saying is that from water, all those expenditures, because they have revenue coming in generated in the past, they're self-sufficient, self-funding. And in the wastewater, since there has been no revenue,
Well,
it's
it's
not-
gotta be borrowings to support the
Yeah, yeah,
wastewater.
yeah.
I mean, and I think the decision was made a couple of years ago, I think even back when I was on the board, that board, that we weren't gonna have like East Harwich pay for the entire East Harwich, system. It's gonna be, we're sharing it across the entire town because it's a town responsibility. Now, the individual hookup's a different story, but
but the requests and the expenditures on water are certainly different than wastewater.
Yes, I
That's what I'm-
understand.
That's what I'm
So
saying.
that got, I mean, we have the chair of the Charter Bylaw Review Committee here, Sandy, and I'm just thinking about, one of the things it says in the charter is we're supposed to try and balance out this capital plan. And I see $73 million in year one, and I see $4 million in year five. It's like, well, that's not very balanced, and I'm just wondering how the fact that a major chunk of it's coming out of water rates fits in with that. And I'm also thinking where the FY '24 plan is gonna be significantly different from the FY '23 plan. If we're following the charter, it's supposed to be, you finish the first year, you add a new year, and that's your capital plan, which is a point that the Finance Committee stressed last year. That's the plan. This is gonna be different. I was wondering if there's been any discussion about how it would be set up. in
Haven't
the
gotten there
warrant.
yet.
Yeah, okay. Figured there'd be something like that.
Yeah, I think.
It's just, I see it, the whole plan's gonna need a 2/3 vote because of, what's going on there. There's just so many big changes. And I see it as this is the old plan, this is the new plan. We're asking you to vote for the new plan.
Okay, who else? Questions, comments? Anything we can do for you?
Yeah, I mean, we'll work closer as soon as this gets done,
Yeah.
you'll have what we consider a finished product. Much like you, I think I've gone through 4 or 5 town administrators, and they each have a different way of interpreting and putting this together and voting and where they want to go with it. So we're learning. I mean, last year, I mean, I think everybody's getting their sea legs back now. Everybody's working
Yeah.
in a committee environment compared to the past 2 years where, yeah, you sort of go along with what we think. This is, we've tried, and Karen can back me on this, I've tried to sort of put a historical view on it, on like what we've done before to make life simple. And it could change. I mean, it changes. And change is good. But we have,
Well, it's a planning tool, and, the tool is only as good as the plan is, and vice versa, so.
yeah, I mean, back years ago when we would just put placeholders, life was easy.
I know.
Throw a number, throw 0 in, and life is good, We have to really concentrate and, now that we have a more tangent, more concrete paper form, it helps. Also, so that we don't come up with this haphazardly. I mean, this is from Sean, and I just bring this along. This document generates one of the lines on here.
Sure, I understand.
So there's 85 or 90 of these that go on here that get looked upon if it's 50 grand or better. And there has to be a change in whatever this comes out of, the bylaws, where it says the purpose of a 5-year, it's a 7-year, it still says 7 years. And it also says that the May annual town meeting warrant seeking adoption of the 7-year capital plan, and that a capital outlay is the acquisition, construction, whatever, of a total cost of $50,000. Not below 50, not above 50, of 50. So Joe is working to address that, and that is reflected on here. So,
Got it. Okay, Karen, did you have something else?
Yeah, just one thing. I mean, I think in terms of our timeline, what we did talk about in our last meeting is that 12/5 is a critical date. Because
Yeah.
that's the date that we do the joint meeting with Capital Outlay, Board of Selectmen,
Yeah,
and the
it's on here.
FinCom meeting.
Yep.
And before that, we talked about it, and we said that what we need to do is for every item on that plan that Rich is referring to, is do the reviews, contemplate the priorities from a town perspective, funding discussions, where the funding for each line item is gonna come from, and then we need to do our vote all before the 5th. So that's just some perspective. And then the final thing I would say is that the document that Rich shared with you was missing a few line items for
Yeah.
the library program, Harwich Elementary, and that's got something to do with Sisson too, because it's a shared septic system.
Yep, I'm familiar with that.
And then the school's capital request, we haven't received anything from those three, so Joe's working on that.
Okay,
And then if you look at here, the information technology was completely blank still.
Yep.
On this last one, he's also working on that because they have a new person helping to build that. That's all.
Okay. all right,
and we want to thank Karen and Mark, have been a real
yep.
asset to making
And
us
there'd
work.
be, our eyes and ears on what's going on and bring back information, get information from us, whatever, however that works, so.
Yeah, somebody asked the question about where do we gather historical information, and I said Encyclopedia Britannica, the Costa, it's the quick and easy way of getting an answer.
Encyclopedia, okay, good. Have you sold any of those lately?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's in the back of his truck.
Binding needs to be redone, but,
All right,
Thank you, guys.
We appreciate you coming in,
Yeah.
and we'll be talking more, so,
Thank you.
thank you very
I
much.
think we have a new guest. I think you
Is
want
that Judith back there?
Judith, it's so exciting to meet you.
Judith Molstad, is that what it is?
It is.
Okay. Have you accepted the position as our clerk?
I have happily accepted
You had
Wonderful.
happily.
it. Absolutely.
And when do you start?
Right now.
Right now, okay.
She's on the clock as we speak, so that's
So let me
good.
just ask a clarification. Do I understand you also do the minutes for the CPC?
I have done Board of Selectmen, Housing Committee, Affordable Housing, Trust, a number of them.
But are you doing all those now?
Yes.
Are you doing them all now?
I have them pretty much caught up. I started with the 2019 and I've got them all caught up now.
Yeah, no, my only question is, since we tend to meet at the same time CPC does, maybe open that door and we have a flow of information or something going on, I don't
Yeah.
know.
My intent is to actually do this at home.
Yep,
I just look on Channel 18.
You watch the tape?
wherever I can find it, yeah. But I just wanted to come in and say hi.
okay,
That's
good. No, we
great.
appreciate it.
That's
We've been looking for you for a long time. And we're glad you found us. Dana's been struggling with it. I think Mark did it for a while, all those kinds of things. And so Dana has, just so you know, Dana has done the minutes up until our last meeting, so we're up to date. you
Yeah,
know.
tonight's minutes are the next ones that come along, basically.
Okay.
And
And-
just as we go along, just because out of habit, I keep track too of any of the votes. So if there's ever a question or the video gets garbled or whatever, we can always
I'll reach out.
meet heads and figure
So
out.
since Dana is our clerk for the board, our committee, I think it's best you folks can work together. In other words, once you do the minutes of the draft, you can send them to him. He can at least review them and then, either make corrections, changes, whatever, and distribute them to the board so we have them, that kind of thing. So, but he should be your contact. Okay? So, all right? Everybody okay? Everybody say hi to Judith?
It's very exciting.
Welcome.
It's been years for me.
Okay, welcome aboard. We appreciate it.
Yeah,
think.
Happy to be here.
Okay. All right, moving on. I would like to, because Sandy Hall is here this evening, if you're okay, I would like to take, basically out of order. I want to talk about the Article 4 of the special town meeting.
3.
3, I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry, 3. Of the special town meeting, there seems to be, it's come to my attention, there seems to be some confusion about it. I did see an email that went out today addressing it. Angelo called me today and we discussed it a little bit. I saw Sandy coming in from the parking lot, so I just chit-chat a little bit and said, hey, why don't you tell us what's going on, see what we can do, see if we can get this thing straightened out before Tuesday. So Sandy, you want to sit up here? There's a microphone anyhow. Everybody knows Sandy Hall? Former select person? Yeah.
She was a
Former everything,
selectman. She was a
right?
selectman when she was there.
Selectman, yeah.
Yeah, she was very upfront about that.
That's the name of the job. Still is the name of the job.
Hasn't changed yet.
Hasn't changed yet. Just so you know.
So let me just say that the only information we have had, quite frankly, before this evening, was the town administrator spending time with us, talking about what this article was about. One of the questions we had was, why do we have to go outside of, outside of what we know in this town and the people in this town and your committee, whatever, to make this work? And it did seem to us like it was an awful lot of work to undertake. And as I understand it now, what I read this morning, there was not an original intent to include any zoning bylaw review in this review. Is that correct?
That would be correct, yes.
Okay. And is that the main rub here that we're talking about, that?
It is one of two concerns that we have had, that we sat with the Board of Selectmen in August, and we had that conversation in a joint meeting, that this was not, zoning would not be within the purview of this committee. It's draconian, and it's technical, and it's a completely different subject than general bylaws and charter, which is in the purview of the committee. And we left the meeting thinking we had agreement on that point. The article still contains zoning. I brought it to the board's attention. I think I copied our liaisons at the time that this was a concern, because if the voters are expecting their $75,000 to cover zoning, that's just not going to happen. That's planning board, planning department, planner. Bailiwick, because we don't have that kind of expertise, and as you know, the zoning is complicated and probably needs a lot of tuning up.
Sure.
So I brought that to the attention of the board before they closed the meeting, before they closed the warrant. It was never discussed to
Meet with your committee or with you?
When we met in August, and then as we got closer to town meeting and the close of the warrant, we saw that this was still in there. So I emailed the Board of Selectmen to memorialize what we had discussed and to say that, these words should be taken out so the voters will know. There would have been time to do it because that was ahead of their meeting to close the warrant, and it just was never addressed. So it still sits there. That's a concern. My other concern was that from your language about your recommendations and opinions, that there's a concept that it's going to be a whole new charter.
Well, one of our concerns, and I think it's stated in that explanation, we were concerned with the amount of work that had to be done. If there was going to be sufficient time before a town meeting, whenever that town meeting would be, to make sure there was good public discourse and dialogue about what the proposal was before it actually got to a town meeting and just got, voted on at that point in time. And I think that the term new is the phrase they use in Maine, if I could. that instead of a
Sorry.
revision, they tend to use the word new. I don't think we meant it as, and we don't mean it as, okay, you throw that one completely out and here's this one. And I understand how you or anybody else might have construed it in that way. And I guess for that, we apologize for if we misled anybody.
Not needed.
But here we are.
Here we are.
You know, town meeting is next Tuesday. Right now, we have supported that article based on the information we had before us, okay? So the options are, for us anyhow, the options are we can do nothing. The options are we could revisit it and definitely postpone because there may be, we don't think there's enough information, or you can't get it done, or there's not clarification on what's gonna happen. It could be that we discuss this with the Board of Selectmen before town meeting on Monday and come to some agreement as to what it all means or doesn't mean and what their intent is. It could mean that we leave it the way it is, and if that motion gets made the way it is, then your team, I'm sure, would seek to amend that on town meeting floor. The problem is, when you start talking about bylaws, in particular, I think it's always good to have an agreement or consensus ahead of time as to what you're proposing, so it doesn't look like you're fighting about what you're gonna try and get done on town meeting floor. I don't know. What are we thinking? How about our liaison? You guys,
Well,
we have two of them here, so. Or committee members, I should say. You're actually committee members, right?
the issue is that when you deal with this kind of information at town meeting, you will get into conversations with people in there who will want to change this, want to change that. They will want to know why this whole group of zoning was covered and on and on and on. And I think what we need to do is to change our current what we said about it, what we voted on, so that it can be done and completed by that committee. So we're in a place that we are getting to close for the short time, this operation, and then go on to the next stage. Because if you go into it and everybody gets up and says, no, we can't do that, no, it's not fair, it's gonna be a very difficult time to be. I think that,
Well, I mean, one approach is, I'm just throwing this out there, if we decide to reconsider and definitely postpone it because we're hearing new information, we have some concerns, whatever, okay, we changed our vote. And then if the selectmen stay with what they have, then it's gonna be up to them to make a positive motion, not us. So the question is whether or not we wanna be the ones that are in the position to make the positive motion or not. We're not gonna solve that here tonight, because there would have to be some consensus agreement with the Board of Selectmen as to what their real intent is here, and if they want to change the wording of the motion so that it's very clear what's going to be done, including maybe the elimination of the word zoning, you know, whatever. I mean, that has to get worked out. If that motion is made and adopted on town meeting floor, as part of the explanation at town meeting, it then should be clarified what we're really doing in this case, right? I mean, I think no matter what happens between now and Tuesday night, that's got to get clarified during the meeting or at the meeting. You know, the question is, do we want to take the initiative and try and drive it in that direction? Or we want to wait now by indefinitely, you know, considering indefinite postponement? Or do we want to wait until Monday or Tuesday when we meet with the Board of Selectmen, 6:15 or something, you know, before town meeting, and try and thrash it out? Have you had any feedback, Sandy? Excuse me, Dan,
Well-
just,
At our meeting, as Angelo and Dan know, at our meeting, the committee voted to have me send this letter out that you received this morning, and Dana and our two liaisons. What troubles me at this point is it's becoming less and less clear to me all the time what the actual intent of this article is. I got a rather unpleasant response from the chairman of the Board of Selectmen, to put it mildly. And one of the things that he says in here, the one line I will read, because the rest of it you don't need to hear. The article is for an appropriation to hire a professional service to review the charter. And it dawns on me that nowhere in this article does it mention that this person is to be assisting the committee. And I'm beginning to wonder just what the plan is. And I don't know the answer to that.
Okay. All right, Dana.
Yeah, that was really, just for the record, I voted against the article, so I'm the one.
Always. Count on
Not
you, Dana,
always.
I'll tell you.
Well, since Leo left, yeah, probably
Right.
always. But my question to you would be, what do you see the $75,000 doing between now and May that we couldn't do without it?
Great question. When Joe first presented the idea to our committee to have a consultant, and the idea did come from him, he threw out the figure $75,000 based on what I do not know, possibly some research that he has done. He may know how much it costs. We interpreted it as meaning that it would be a consultant to help, much as Dr. Booth did when we did the charter, to help guide us through this very extensive process. What it would cover between now and the next town meeting, that was another part of the discussion we had with the selectmen, because if you allocate the money and we go through the process of finding and hiring, interviewing, whatever, if we have asked to be part of that process, but I don't know that we will be. I have no idea. We've tried to meet with Joe to discuss next steps. I'm still working on hopefully having a meeting with him sometime after town meeting when we know what the outcome of this is. The original charter took over a year. The last review with Winnie Ovaska, when Anita was still on the board, took over a year. If you go through the process of hiring and all the steps that you have to take, I would say it's unlikely you're going to have a consultant in place before the end of December. That gives you, 2.5 months to do a complete review of the charter? And again, we discussed this, I made that clear to the Board of Selectmen that that just wasn't possible to do it and do it well. So that's where we stand at this point. Can we start to do a review of the entire charter without a consultant? Sure, but it's still going to take time.
Okay,
We
so
can't do it between now and the next town
So the
meeting.
question is, since we have apparently either misunderstanding, disagreement, whatever, as to what the article is intended to do, let's just say that, what the scope of the article really is it better that this thing just be indefinitely postponed and bring it back in the spring? At the annual town meeting, that gives everybody a chance to sort out what they really want to do. And by the way, maybe ahead of time, they could get some proposals from some folks that might do this work. We used to do things based on bids, right? We used to.
Right.
I'm learning that's not so common anymore, but anyhow. And maybe it's better off, that we just say, hey, let's wait until next spring.
Well, I don't think the committee would be inclined to buck that at this point. I think
Okay.
it's whatever you feel works best. Whether it's just to eliminate the zoning, to at least clarify that much, or to put it on hold until everybody is more clear about what we're trying to do here.
Yeah, part of the challenge with a special town meeting like the one we're trying to have now is, we just started hearing about this, in August or so, the whole thing, all 8 articles. It's like, let's jam this in and get it done. And so we haven't had a lot of deliberation about it. It's just been boom, 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 we gotta do it to satisfy a date kind of thing, so.
We had hoped optimistically, since it was an opportunity to try to do this, that having it in the fall town meeting would give us that much more time to get things in place and get started with the process. but there was never a thought that it would be ready for 2023.
Yeah, okay. Dana?
The other big thing that comes up is that when we first were presented the articles and included them in the warrant, everything was proposed on the town side anyways, not the water stuff, but on the town side to come from free cash. Now we're raising, appropriating all this stuff. We're taking away money from next year. Just rush these all of the things on here, not just this one article, but they're all raise and appropriate. And to me, that's like, okay, it's not in the big mix of what's gonna be coming at us next year. We see $73 million on the capital plan. What else is coming at us? So, in my mind, that change
Everything.
made a difference as well. The fact that the zoning is in there, and when we discussed this article originally, when we voted to fund it, we didn't have any of the zoning discussions or anything like that at all. I don't think we even realized that that was such a big part of this.
Well, quite frankly, I think we rightly or wrongly just assumed, shame on us, that everybody that was bringing it before us, including you folks, your team, were in agreement on it. I mean, you would think so, right?
You will notice that we were not part of the request.
I understand.
So, I'm still where I was, that I'm just, don't think it's ready for prime time yet, myself. But I can't make the motion to reconsider it.
No, I understand that, so, Karen?
Could go with the bad boy
This has
chair.
been enlightening. Honestly, thank you guys for bringing it, but I'm fully on board with indefinitely postponing based on what you guys discussed. I think it's, without the chair of that bylaw committee participating in this, understanding the purpose of this person's role and all of that, I don't feel very good about approving it.
Okay, so let me try this. Could I have a motion, if you're so inclined, to reconsider Article 3 of the special town meeting, which is bylaw charter review resource funding? Don't everybody speak at once. Somebody making that motion?
I'll make that motion, yes.
Okay,
Yep.
good. Dan made a motion to the second.
Second.
Well, it's a motion to reconsider Article 3 of the special, okay? Brought by folks that voted for it, because we know you voted against it. Okay, let's take a roll call vote on that. Mark?
Aye. Aye.
Ian?
Aye.
Dana?
Aye.
Angela? Karen? Aye.
Aye.
So, okay, so it is now open for reconsideration, okay? Now, would someone like to make a motion regarding our support or lack thereof for this, or position on this article?
Based on the fact that it isn't coming from free cash, because we have no free cash certified. It's coming from raise and appropriate. I can't see supporting that as I did then, as I do now. So I would move that we indefinitely postpone the article.
Second?
Okay, moved and seconded to indefinitely postpone. We'll have discussion, but Dana, in my mind, since we voted to fund it out of raise and appropriate before, for me, that's not a reason to change my mind at this point. It's more about the lack of coordination between the parties to understand what's really in this article, that zoning clearly is not in this article, that the folks most likely to have to carry out this mission, if you will, are not in agreement with what's in the article. I think and because we're hearing, again, from the folks that would be carrying out this mission, that time is not of the essence for this, that if we're expecting something next spring, it's not gonna happen, okay? So we'll end up doing a lousy job, or we'll end up spending the money and not getting the job done, or it'll just take till the next year or whatever to do it, so. That's more my rationale than the funding source, but you folks
That's
can
the
make up.
cake, this is just the icing.
What?
That's the cake, this is just the icing.
Yeah, okay, but I mean, it's, that's where I am on it. So further
Right.
discussion?
I agree with how you just stated that, because I think those are the concerns that we laid out in that discussion, and I think that's accurate.
Okay. Anybody else? You ready for a vote? again, the motion under reconsideration is Article 3, bylaw charter review, resource funding article, the special. And the motion is to indefinitely postpone. We'll put it to a vote. Mark?
Aye. Aye.
Dan?
Aye.
Angelo? Karen?
Aye.
Dana?
Aye.
Peter, aye. Look at that, you voted for it this time, it's good. Okay. So Sandy, I will pass, or board, I will pass this on to the chairman of the Board of Selectmen and the town administrator. And I'm assuming that we will get together on Tuesday evening.
Yeah, well, we have a room booked for,
You what?
we have a room booked for ahead of town meeting as a, you know,
Okay.
if we need to meet for any
They
reason.
may
so-
not invite you.
Pardon?
They may not invite you.
Well, we have our own room booked.
I
Thank you
understand, no, I
very much.
understand.
In
I-
case we're needed,
I
in case
understand.
anybody wants to talk to us.
Yep, no, I understand.
Yeah.
Okay. Dana?
I have two questions based on what we just did. If they make the positive motion and it includes 75,000 and it includes to fund the article as written, do we want to make an amendment to take out the zoning? Do we want to make an amendment to make the 75,000 spent under the direction of the Finance Committee or something like that? Do we want to do anything with a positive motion that just says for the article as printed?
Okay, so let me just ask Sandy a question. That is, if that topic comes up, if they do make the positive motion, would the intent of your team be to anyway try to amend it? Or-
Yes.
Okay. So it might be better at that point, Dana, to
Love
let
that. Yep.
the Charter Review Committee to amend the motion, and then we could support their amendment, if you will, by, you know, getting up and yakking and whatnot. Because I think we're all talking the same story here. Dan?
I have a background question. How did the need for reviewing the charter evolve?
It is our charter charge of this committee to undertake a 5-year review every 5 years.
Okay, that's what I'm missing.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a charter requirement.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And
And this
there
is
are
the
things,
year?
sometimes it's just cleanup, and
Well,
sometimes it's a lot more than
There
that.
hasn't been a top-to-bottom review in a number of
2009?
years, since 2009. I came back to it several years ago, then there was a period of time when there was no committee, and then it was reconstituted, and that was just a little over a year ago. So basically, we've just been mostly dealing with immediate questions and getting our ducks in a row, and then having this conversation about the 5-year review, mostly with the town administrator.
I just had one other question that's sort of slightly off this topic, but you're here, you're in front of us.
I am.
A while back, we had special legislation that took out the benefits for elected officials,
Okay.
and that was approved at town meeting and so on and so forth. But the actual language of that doesn't appear anywhere in our code, anywhere in our bylaws, anywhere. You can't look it up online like you can look other laws up. And I'm just wondering what other special legislations we've passed over the last, since '87, that
For-
may be still floating out there, that just not written somewhere where people can look them up easily.
This would be a great question for the town clerk, probably the former town clerk, because she is involved with E-Code, which is the company responsible for updating the code based on all the various votes. And you should find all those references in there. Good chance you're not going to find a reference to something that no longer exists. I don't know whether there's a genealogy on those things somewhere in the town clerk's office. I expect there probably is, knowing how careful Anita was
Yeah.
with her
But we
records.
We actually wrote a document that had the criteria. You had to make over $10,000, you had to, you know, it had to be.
Well, I don't know the answer to that exactly,
Okay.
but there should be a record of, you know, what happened and why. But I think the insurance question was something that was eliminated rather than added or modified. But I'd have to go back. My memory is not altogether clear on that.
We're all getting older.
Not me. I
But
refuse.
it's just an example of
Yeah.
special legislation gets passed for Beacon Hill on behalf of the town, but then what happens to the information?
in a broader sense, there was a period of time, that it was always the intent to have the town meeting and the voters of this town approve charter changes, because that's home rule. Part of the reason that home rule was granted in 66 as a possibility to towns was because every time a town did anything, they had to go to the legislature. And the legislature was getting buried in all kinds of, minor town issues that it didn't need to be dealing with. So they legislated the home rule amendment, and they handed to the towns the potential to have their own home rule charter, so they didn't have to keep going to the legislature. Somewhere back in the intervening time, and I was not really paying close attention when this was going on, hiding out, actually, for good reason, right? They'd started to put these charter changes and give them to the legislature, which completely defeats the purpose of a home rule charter, in my opinion. Because this is about us, this is about what we choose to do, and we can do things a little differently than Brewster or Natick, as long as it doesn't conflict with any existing laws. Yeah, we have some latitude in how we run our lives, and that's how it should be.
Yep.
So,
Okay.
that's a little more background than you probably wanted, but I think it's good
There
to
you go.
know.
Okay, we have some more business to conduct, so Sandy, thank you. We'll see
being
you at
thrown
town
out?
meeting.
You're welcome all night, but
Been thrown out of
we
better
know you better
places.
than that.
Very helpful though, thank you.
Well, anytime. It's an interesting topic, and there are lots of layers.
There you go. Okay. Next item is under new business C. Finance Committee annual meeting at the Board of Selectmen on October 24th.
I'll be there.
You'll be what?
I'll be there.
You'll be there? I'll be there as well. So, okay, so there's some, I haven't filed the report yet. I was waiting for this meeting. It says that the report should be brief, but there are certain things that should be in it. So I want to run through these things real quickly. Brief highlight of last year, my comment there, and you can chime in whenever. Finance Committee executed its duties and responsibilities as defined in the charter. Our exclusion from the development of the plan for the former middle school leaves us flummoxed.
Nice word.
I want to teach the Board of Selectmen a new word. We use flummoxed.
You got Judith right.
And that was it. Is that okay? It says what we did, right?
Yeah.
You good with that? All right. List of committee members, we can do that. Organization of the committee, chair, vice chair, et cetera, I can do that. Are you posting agendas and minutes in the last minutes? We had that tonight, so we're good. Are members sworn in and state ethics testing up to date? I sent you all an email. I haven't heard back from everybody, but could we just, is everybody sworn in?
Yes.
Is everybody's ethics up to date?
No, no,
Did you try and take the test?
I have not tried again, yeah, I'll probably do it tomorrow.
You said it lasts for 2 years, right?
2 years, yeah.
So if you haven't had it in 2 years, you're not.
You good? You good?
I'm good. I gave you my certificate.
Oh, yeah, okay. All right, so Dan, if you just take care of that,
Yep.
so I'm just gonna say yes, okay? Does your committee charge need reviewing, updating? If so, thoughts to what needs addressing? I don't have anything there.
Yeah,
Yeah?
we want to present the budget to town meeting. Instead of Board of Selectmen. But that's a big charter question,
I
not
know.
a,
Yeah, that's it, yeah, okay.
Not
That's
a-
not gonna get solved this year.
not a social meeting.
What does your committee need assistance, support, finding members? So we should be, by town meeting night, we should have a full board, so that question should be behind us. Member attendance and absences. We have good attendance, right? So that would be the end of the report. Is that good? All right. Fabulous. Yeah.
I guess my only question with this one is just why are we meeting with the Board of Selectmen separately on this? I mean, this is something that they do with all the committees that they have created and they deal with in the charter. In all the years that I've been on the Finance Committee, we used our opportunities reviewing the budgets and our joint meetings that have to do with, that we have throughout the year to cover this requirement of the charter that we meet once with the Board of Selectmen.
I think it'd be fun.
It will be fun, it will be different,
And we'll
but
use-
it's somehow, it's like, it seems to have been working towards a direction where the Finance Committee has to answer more and more to the Board of Selectmen when that isn't necessarily the case.
I understand. It is our opportunity to teach them the word flummox, though.
Yes, that alone is gonna
I think
make it
that
worth
The
being
highway
there.
department's probably gotta learn that word tomorrow. so. Okay, and by the way, anybody's welcome to attend. I mean, I think the more the merrier, but, you know, let's see how it goes, right? So if you're available, that's fine. All right. Huh?
Monday, the 24th.
Monday, October 24th. And their meeting is 6 o'clock now, so when they meet? I think they changed their starting time since they moved to
Yeah.
every other week.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah,
They
I think
did
it's
change
6
it to
o'clock.
6, yep.
Yeah. Okay, special town meeting warrant. We have anything we need to clean up? We took votes on everything. I think we're good. I do know they were expecting, and we may have it on Monday or Tuesday, certified free cash. And that may, we meet with them ahead of time, that could change what our votes are as far
Yeah.
as, you know, sources of funding. Aside from that, are we good?
We have, on Article 2, we have no recommendation pending further information. I don't think we've gained any information since we made that vote. I didn't know, I mean, by the time we get to town meeting, we have to have a vote of some sort. To me personally, acquiring the parcel of land seems to be important to the wastewater project. Getting the church with it is a bonus, I guess. And from a finance committee point of view, in my mind, that's a scary bonus, because it just,
In the paper today, I read the Chronicle today, and they reviewed the articles in that, in one in particular, and I don't want to get it, I might get it a little wrong, so they're also proposing that they use that building for 14 workforce housing apartments, so then that would essentially pay for the, what they need to do for the water or wastewater. But I think there's more to it than, just based on reading that, than I knew, information we got previously, so I would have expected an update to us before it ended up in the paper. Or something, maybe they talked about it at the board of selectmen meeting the last time, don't know, because I haven't had a chance to look at it, I was away. But that might be, they might have more information to share with us, and if we can get that sooner than Tuesday or whatever, Monday night, it would be good to start thinking about it.
I think that my recommendation at the moment is we leave it as it
Yeah.
is.
Yeah.
If we learn more information, which is probably gonna be Tuesday,
Yeah.
if we do, at our meeting before with the Board of Selectmen, we will take a vote.
Yeah.
If we don't get more information than what we know now, you know.
well, then you could do what we just did with the other one. You could reconsider it and then vote to definitely postpone it and let them make the motion on it and explain it.
Right, but I think
That way, we just say we didn't have enough information, so at this time, we don't recommend it.
right.
Yeah, I agree with that, I think
Yeah.
that makes sense to me, but I think that's, so I did, it just, when you just started talking about it, it made me think about just reading that this afternoon, that's one piece of that I
Yeah,
did.
very good.
I wasn't
I
aware, but
didn't-
it's a positive thing if that's truly what's included.
Well, it is, but you know, the interesting thing is the estimated cost of $1.
Yeah,
You know we're gonna spend more money than that as we go forward.
yeah.
I think that they probably had some discussion with some potential developers who have given some input as to what they could really do or not do. I don't think the town just said, oh, we're gonna put 14 units in there.
True,
I
yeah.
think they must have gotten some kind of indication from
Right.
somebody who would be in that kind of business to say, yes, we can do it, and it would be like this, and the numbers like, but we haven't seen that,
Correct, yeah.
so.
Okay.
Well, the other question that comes with that in my mind is, are they, because it's a historic building, gonna ask for all that money from CPC, or basically taxpayer money, to do all of this stuff.
That's
That's an excellent question.
undefined, but I'm guessing that the $1 will come out of somebody's pocket. So,
I think Finance Committee, Angelo, you should be bringing $1 with
In the
you.
bucket, they don't impact my
Choose it.
tax.
okay, so we'll
But other
take,
than that, I don't think we have anything
okay,
going.
all right. So we'll go with all that. All right, B, under old business, charter required joint public hearing, we mentioned this, Board of Selectmen capital outlay, Finance Committee, blah, blah, blah. Monday, December 5th, 2022, in the Griffin Room. Mark your calendars, right? Anybody have anything else to say on that? All right, C, interestingly enough, the Board of Selectmen free cash policy and Board of Selectmen discussion on local receipts at their October 3rd meeting. We did send you around a copy of a free cash policy adopted by the Board of Selectmen on July 31st of 2006, which has some very interesting things in it. Particularly, in my mind, the free cash is an inappropriate source of funds to support the operating budget of the town. I think that's fascinating. But there are some other interesting things in it, and I think the important thing is just to read this, become familiar with it. I think it's going to be a topic going forward. I think, Dana, did you say that the board's taking this up at some point in time?
Yes,
At the town meeting?
I was at the October 3rd meeting, which is why I asked if we could add this to the agenda. They were talking about it in relation, they were specifically started out talking about receipts, and I know we had had a discussion on estimated receipts, because that's a big portion of free cash, and how you get to it, and how we estimate our receipts, and whether you're estimating receipts to generate free cash, or whether you're estimating receipts to actually support the budget that those receipts are coming from. It seems like we're doing it a lot to raise free cash, but they started talking about it in that way, and in the same way that we had more than a month prior to that, and I thought that was interesting. And they said it's going to be an ongoing discussion, and they want to talk more about it, but it's right in line with what we had been talking about, and we should definitely stay on top of anything they're doing. But it just told me that I have to go to work quicker on getting a policy draft together for this board to consider in terms of free cash and estimated receipts and all of that. So I'll get working on that, and make sure that I get a draft out quicker rather than later.
Well, it is interesting that none of the, I'll get to you in a second, none of the signees on this board is constituted at that time or even around anymore that I know of.
No.
I mean, you go through the list, but it is interesting. The board adopts a policy, whatever the policy is, somehow it gets put over here.
Yeah, they don't actually
And
function with it and do
It
anything
gets
with it.
ignored, I guess, right? So, Dan?
When I first moved to the town and started going to town meetings and that kind of thing, and I heard this term of free cash. Now, I have a background in municipal accounting, especially with school districts. To my knowledge, there's no such thing in municipal accounting. So Carol Coppola, the former finance director, she actually gave a primer on municipal
cash, yeah.
accounting.
Yeah, okay.
And when she explained free cash, I said, "You mean the unexpended fund balance?" She said, "Yes." But that term doesn't appear in any of our discussions, or our written material. Point being that if you want some help to work on that policy statement, I'd be glad to help you out.
Sure, I'd love that.
You know, it's just like the cherry sheet, it's only called the cherry sheet
Right.
because it's,
Was originally
It's a color.
printed on
A pink piece of
Yeah.
paper.
pink paper.
you know, funny things, Karen.
But, you know, us accountants like to be more precise.
Oh, I know, I
Color.
understand.
I'm just curious, is this, where is this policy located? Is it part of, it's not part of a charter or anything like that? And I don't know if it should be, honestly. My point being is that it seems that quite often when we try and discuss anything, we get pointed back, well, the charter says this, or the bylaws say that, and therefore we have to follow it. And to your point about the line, and its inappropriate source of funds to support the operating budget of the town, I feel like that's one of those really good reasons to say, but we can't do what you're asking us to do because it's not meant for that purpose. And so to my point, I'm just wondering, where does these types of policies get?
Well, if you really pushed it, you'd say the best place to put, if you really believed in that concept and wanted to stick with that concept, you put it in either the charter or the bylaws,
Yes.
because the town people vote on those things. These are just the board saying, this is our policy.
It's internal board.
Which the next board can say, well, it's not our policy, so we're moving on to something
So
else.
it brings me to the next question then, Dana, if you're gonna try and, you guys work on if we work collectively, you guys drafting obviously a new policy, should we work with Sandy and the bylaw committee to get something like that added? How do we collectively feel about that? Do we want to do that?
Well, I think for me, I would wait and see what this
Yeah,
free cash policy statement ends up being. I
Yeah.
mean, where we get to it, and then we can decide whether it's something that's appropriate, we think it's appropriate or not in going forward. Sometimes you don't want to put the handcuffs on, folks so hard that they can't get their job done, you know what I mean? Because there are times, we remember times when, forget free cash, it was like, we used to count lug nuts on police cars. It was like crazy around here at one point in time, and very different times. And let's hope we don't see that again, but right now, free cash is like, let's go have fun.
Yes, maybe when we see what you guys draft, there's an opportunity to put something in there, to put some controls on it, but not so much that it restricts the town so heavily.
And by the way, it's another way of, when you get into this, if you keep free cash out of the budget, that's more of a reason that if you're gonna hire new people, that you go out for new taxes to support those new positions.
I see the policy that we would adopt as being just that, a finance committee policy, that we try saying, okay, we're going to vote based on this internal policy that we have. The selectmen will probably not agree with it. Other people might not agree with it, but we ourselves are gonna say, well, we're not supporting this part of the budget because it's supported by free cash or something like that. And then later, if it becomes something that actually works and could then evolve to the next step of putting it in a bylaw, putting it in the charter, putting it somewhere where it has a little more teeth. But it's just gonna start out as a self-governing kind of thing that we try to do.
The good
I
news
see
is,
it.
people are talking about it now.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's
Yeah.
the good news. So,
That's the best part.
Yeah, that's huge progress.
yeah, that'll
Yeah.
start the ball rolling a little bit.
Cool, that's, another
Yeah.
interesting topic.
Dan?
Just for my own clarification, does the town charter prescribe the bylaws of the town? When we say the bylaws of the town, are we talking about the town charter?
No,
It's a separate document.
Yes.
separate
It's a
document.
separate document,
separate.
which I don't have, okay.
It's
You can get it online right on the select.
It's
Yeah,
not
I'll
really a
have to go.
printable document, to my knowledge.
It's very
more of
tough,
a-
yeah.
It's more of a tool that you can use to get around. It's pretty good, but there's no way to really print it. I tried
Do-
at some point.
Do the bylaws
The bylaws,
have the force and effect of law?
Yes.
Okay, then,
Like, the most important part is, for us, is there's a big section on town meeting.
okay.
And some of the stuff that we have to do is not in the charter, but we have to do it because it's in the bylaw. So, yeah, it's very important to see that part, and then there's one on how you have a brush fire, and then there's one on where you can park downtown. The bylaws are,
They evolve over time.
they
let's
evolve
put it
over
that way.
time.
In my previous life, we would have statutes, laws.
Yep.
And then those laws rolled into regulations.
Right,
Regulations had the effect of law.
right. So that'd be like the Board of Health, like the Board of Health having a regulation is basically law,
Yeah,
right? Same thing.
no smoking outside, you know.
So as the Finance Committee, we can't deputize you and you can give out,
Yeah,
I don't know, parking tickets, I don't know.
you don't have to
whatever.
write that part.
Okay, we had enough fun for one night?
Yeah.
Okay, we're adjourned unless someone would like to
7:15.
do something different. Don't forget, we'll get back to you at what time on Tuesday night to be at the community center. Probably gonna be like 6:15 or something. And make sure you brush your teeth and comb your hair. Okay, we're adjourned.